So for today, you are going to be working on listening to a story. This is the Kitten story. And I'm actually going to be teaching you how to build a story organizer from the story, and then also how to finish the story with just a short version of finishing the story. So for this purpose, let me hide this here. I have a paper you'll see up here in the camera. This is where I'm going to be drawing and writing your story, organizer. And then on the screen here is the actual story, the source that we're going to be using for today. And then on the second slide here is where I'm going to take the story organizer that we make, and I'm going to use it to finish this story. So a lot of components to today's lesson. So make sure you're listening carefully, pausing the video when you need to, maybe when you are understanding, starting to break down a little bit. Feel free to rewatch the video as many times as you need to. But definitely paying attention to both what I'm doing here on this paper and then also what is going on here on this slide is super important. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing that you want to think about today is that it is a narrative writing. We're working on source-based narrative writing. And so the first thing you're going to always want to do anytime you're working with something called finish the story, because narrative writing, there's going to be different prompts that I'm going to be asking you to do. This one's called Finish the Story, and it's exactly what it says. So you're finishing the story. So you're given part of a story in a source, and then your task will be to finish that story. Zoomed in a little bit here. Make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. All right. So just a hint, if I'm writing something on a piece of paper, that's a hint that when you go to do this on your own with your task for today, then you also should be writing your organizer on a piece of paper. So again, I gave you guys pencil paper and those Halloween bags that I dropped off. But if you do not have those pencil paper, or if you're listening to this video and you're a student in another class, then you should have pencil paper at home. Again, if you do not, you need to contact the school and we will be happy to get you some pencil paper to be able to do some of this work, because there's a lot of value to writing something down with your actual pencil and paper rather than just doing everything digitally. So here we go. So we're going to finish the story. So the first thing we want to do is read the source. So this story is called The Kitten, and we're going to go ahead and make our story organizer. It's not anything complicated at all, guys. All you're going to do is write the title. So we want to make sure we know the title of the story. And then we're going to put the theme category. So not the theme, not the somebody or sometimes in life, blah, blah, blah. The theme category is going to be, is it funny? Is it scary? Is it, adventurous? Like what kind of category is that? And then we're also going to put our point of view, because that's important to know, is it first person or is it third person? So we're going to have our point of view, okay? And then I'm going to say my characters. So we want to list our characters. And I'm just going to put little I like to put these little colons or whatever you call them. And then we have our setting. I'm going to list that over here. Okay. And then we're going to I'm going to do this where I go about halfway down my page and I'm going to draw a box of, I'm just kind of guesstimating here, but making my box kind of big. And then I'm going to divide it into 3 parts. So this is just an example of an organizer that you could use. This is going to be my exposition, which is your beginning of your story. Exposition. And I'll move this around so you guys can see once I get to that part. But for right now, you should be drawing this organizer with me. So this is going to be your middle. And we know that our middle has a few things. It has our rising action, it has our climax, and it has our falling action. So this is the middle part here. The exposition is this part here, and our story arc, and then of course our ending or our resolution is that part there. Okay, so within this middle part, we definitely at the top in the box, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put, actually not at the top, sorry. In the middle part here, I'm going to say climax. Sometimes the climax or the turning point is given to you when you do finish the story, but for the most part, you're going to have to come up with the climax on your own, and then your resolution is how do you solve the problem. And then down here, we're actually going to put at the very, very bottom here, I'm going to put the problem, okay, slash conflict. Again, you might be given it in the story, and we're going to go over that, or you might have to come up with that on your own when you do the finish the story organizer. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to finish the story involves you first looking at your source. So you have this story, so I'm going to read it out loud, and we're going to break it down in the parts that we do know. So again, you should be doing this with me so that you have a good idea of what you're doing. So if you don't have this part of the organizer written down yet, pause the video and write it down, please. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Oh dear, I lost it. Where did that go? So sorry, guys. Hold on just a second. Oh, goodness. What did I just do? Nope, don't want to do that. Okay. Well, somehow I lost my camera view, which is a little nerve-wracking. I'm so sorry, guys. If you could just give me a second. There we go. Mrs. Smith for the win. All right, hopefully, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. I thought I was making it bigger, but I was not. So if you need to pause it, and then you can zoom in on the screen using your Control Plus button, then you can do that. Okay, let's go ahead and write our story title down. So the story is called The Kitten. Then we have our theme category. I don't know that yet. Point of view. I'm going to read the story and we'll go over that. So we definitely know the title. The theme category is the title is The Kitten. So I'm going to go ahead and read the story and then we'll just break it down together. So Rosie wanted a kitten more than anything in the world. For months, she had dreamed of the day that she and her parents would go to the pound and adopt her brand new pet. So from the first two sentences right there, I can already tell the point of view because it's not using phrases like I wanted a new kitten or I had dreamed of the day. It's giving a character's name from a perspective of an outside narrator. So therefore, we know the point of view is third person. So we know that it's a narrator telling the story. Okay. So then we're going to keep reading to figure out the characters in the theme category, but in setting and all of that, we're going to stop though because we already know a character's name is Rosie. And I'm going to go back and reread from the beginning. So you'll notice me doing that a lot. You should be doing the same thing because I know that I want to listen for the exposition or the beginning of the story. So that's something that I need to go back and reread for. Rosie wanted a kitten more than anything in the world. For months, she had dreamed of the day that she and her parents would go to the pound and adopt her brand new pet. But Rosie's mother insisted they wait until Rosie's birthday, which was still 2 months away. Rosie thought of kittens all day. She hoped hers would have blue eyes and fluffy fur and a happy purr that Rosie would feel through her shirt when the kitten curled up on her chest. To be honest, the exposition is right now just simply her, like the story being set up about her and what she wants. So I don't really know the setting quite yet. I do know that, the timing seems like it's at current times. It's not like happening in the past. It's not happening in the future. I believe it's happening in the present. So that's something to think about. So I'm going to add that to the setting. So present day, and that just means it's not, crazy like Western times or anything like that. Again, anytime you want to pause the video to write things down with me, you can do that and then hit Control Plus to zoom in on that screen. All right, so she's walking home from school one day and she passed a neighbor's house and noticed a big cardboard box on the porch. So that gives me a little bit of a insight on the setting there. So she's walking home from school one day. So we're going to put walking home. And if she's walking home from school, that means it's like the afternoon. So I'm going to add that as well. And I know that's kind of tiny, but that's why you're listening to my words. So that's okay. And then I also know that it says Rosie's mother insisted, but I don't have a name for her mom yet, and I'm going to keep reading to see if I find a name, and if I don't, then I can add Rosie's mother as the character names. All right, so I'm going to keep going. So she noticed a big cardboard box on the porch. Curious, she ventured closer and saw her neighbor, Mrs. Spencer. So there's another character, so I'm going to add that, Mrs. Spencer. And then just to help me out, I'm also going to actually put who Mrs. Spencer is as like a little note so that I know what I need to continue with. She's the neighbor. Okay. Lifting a fluffy kitten from the box, it says. Um, okay, I'm gonna reread. Walking home from school one day, she passed a neighbor's house and noticed a big cardboard box on the porch. Curious, she ventured closer and saw her neighbor, Mrs. Spencer, lifting a fluffy kitten from the box. The words "Free Kittens" were written across the side of the box in big black letters. So it's her neighbor's house that she noticed. Okay, neighbor's house that she noticed the cardboard box. All right, I'm getting an idea here. Mrs. Spencer saw Rosie eyeing the box and waved her to come closer. Your name is Rosie, isn't it? You live down the block? Rosie nodded and her arms out. Sorry, Rosie nodded and held her arms out for the kitten. Mrs. Spencer was handing her to hold. It had blue eyes, and its fur was as soft as Rosie had dreamed. So I'm going to add the kitten to my character list because we definitely want that to be in our story. It had blue eyes, and its fur was as soft as Rosie had dreamed it would be. Would you like to adopt that kitten? Asked Mrs. Spencer, smiling kindly. Before she knew what she was saying, Rosie blurted out, "Yes! Is it all right with your parents?" Question mark. So that's where the source ends, but that's not where the story ends because you're going to finish the story. So let's go back now and look, what is the theme category? So what kind of story is this? I would call this a realistic story because this is something that could happen in real life. So I'm adding that word realistic. So for a second, I'm going to show you this top part because this is the part that you should have all filled out. She's walking home. It's afternoon, and then I'm adding to the setting neighbor's front porch because that's where she's at the moment. But obviously, that doesn't mean they have to stay there. I'm just adding to the organizer of what we know so far. All right, so now, again, if you can't see that, pause it and then hit Control Plus to make your screen a little bit bigger. And now we're going to go over here to the exposition. So exposition is the beginning of the story. So what's happening in the beginning of the story? Well, we know Rosie wants a kitten, right? She wants a kitten. So we know that. This doesn't have to be anything fancy. I'm a big fan of bullet points, so that's what I'm going to do. Rosie wants a kitten, okay? For months she had dreamed of the day that she and her parents would go to the pound and adopt her brand new pet, but Rosie's mother insisted that they wait until Rosie's birthday, which was still 2 months away. So did Rosie's mom want? So I'm going to say her mom. So I'm going to add that, go back up here and add Rosie's mother. They don't really mention her parents or her dad. They just say Rosie's mother. So I'm going to add that to my character at the top here. So you can see, I added Rosie's mother right here to my character list because they never gave me Rosie's mom's name. Mrs. Spencer is the neighbor, not the mom. But they don't mention dad or parents. They just say mom. So that's what we're going to make sure we do. So her mom wants to wait until her birthday, right? So her mom wants to wait until her birthday to get a kitten. So Rosie has other plans, obviously. So we know that is important because if you think about it, like this lady just handed her a kitten and she was like, yeah. So it's important to go back and look at the exposition for the details that kind of connect with what we have so far. So she hoped for blue eyes, fluffy fur, happy purr, blah, blah, blah. But those are all just kind of added details. So I'm going to leave it at she wants a kitten and her mom wants to wait, right? So then what's happening in the middle? She's coming home from school. Okay, so we know that, right? And then what's the turning point in the story? Okay, so I'm actually going to move this word climax up. Coming home from school, and then I'm going to say the climax or the turning point in the story is actually in here already. She sees, what does she see? She sees a, box of kittens. And what happens? And her neighbor offers one to her, right? So the story has it's like the climax. It's the most exciting part of the story. She's being offered this cat. She says, yes, I'll take it. But then, is it all right with your parents? She says. So now your task, or my task, together, listening, actually not really together, but I'm going to model for you, how do I finish this story? So what I need to do here is I have my middle. She's there. She gets offered the cat. The neighbor offers it to her, and she says yes. So, and she says yes. For now, I'm going to keep this pretty simple, to be honest. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Is it all right with your parents? Question mark. So I know that obviously, logically, she needs to respond. So how do I want to, what's the problem in the story, or what's the conflict? Definitely that Rosie wants a kitten. And I'm going to say, but her mom wants her to wait. So that's the problem. Doesn't have to be anything too complex or crazy. Just simply she wants the cat and the mom wants her to wait. Right? All right, so now we're going to talk about what would I do? So what I would do is I would think, okay, I know resolution-wise or solution-wise. So she's offered the cat. She says yes. She's like, is it all right with your parents? And then I'm going to have my character actually lie. And I'm going to say that Rosie lies and says that her mom is totally fine with it. Now, if you notice, this isn't like the best, but that's okay. And as long as you're getting your ideas down. So I'm going to have her do that. So that's the middle. And then I'm going to go into the falling action and the resolution. So actually, I'm going to put that here. So falling action. So what leads up to the resolution, I'm going to put over here. The falling action and the resolution. So I'm going to write down in this column what happens after, she's like, hey, do you want this cat? And then I'm going to have Rosie lie and say yes, that she wants it. Because to me, Rosie really wants that cat. And so to me, I'm thinking she's already said yes, so she's just going to keep going with it. So that's what I'm having her do. That's how I thought of that idea. So I'm going to go ahead and say, like, she takes the cat home. Okay, she takes the cat home. So as my detail, and then again, when I draft it on the next slide, I'll be able to add more dialogue, things like that. For now, I'm just kind of getting an idea of how do I want this to end. So she takes the cat home, tries to hide it, but then soon realizes she will need items to care for the kitten. Again, I'm just thinking this up on the fly. I'm just kind of notice I'm using things like the kitten and whatnot. And then I'm going to say, bring the other characters in that we talked about. And I'm going to say that in the end, Mom and Rosie work out a way for her to keep the cat. The kitten. Now, is that enough details? Should I just transfer these directly to the slide? No. Okay, this is just giving me a general idea of how I want my story to go. So now that I have all of this information, I'm going to go to my slide and I'm going to finish the story by drafting. So first things first is right here it says, is it all right with your parents? So obviously Rosie's going to need to respond to that with the dialogue. So I'm going to say, Rosie quickly says, yes, she um will be perfectly get it perfectly. She will be perfectly fine with me bringing it home. Okay, so she lies and says this, right? Okay. Then when we do dialogue, she has it. Notice I put my quotation marks around my dialogue, my comma, who's saying the words. I use the character's name, Rosie. So Rosie quickly says, yes, she will be perfectly fine with me bringing it home. So Rosie then walks home with her new friend. She cuddles it close, and as she gets closer to the front door of her house, she puts the kitten, puts the kitten into her jacket. Okay. No, you know what? I like into her backpack because she's coming home from school. So that's a way to work some of those details in from the original text. So she cuddles it close and she gets closer to the front door of her house. She puts the kitten into her backpack. I need to go back. As she gets closer to the front of the door of her house, comma, because there's like a space there, she puts the kitten into her backpack. Okay. Rosie shuffles, because she's like kind of, like try not to be suspicious, shuffles to her room and lays the kitten on her bed. All of a sudden, a rush of guilt comes over her when the kitten begins to rummage. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking begins to lick her finger. Rosie realized that she would need food, water, and a litter box for this little guy. Okay, so then I need to logically go into my next part. So I'm thinking, mom, it's probably like she gets home from school, mom's probably there. So I'm going to go ahead and say, mom walks, or sorry, let's see, mom knocks on the door and, excuse me, and says, Rosie, I just got off the phone with, who do you think? Mrs. And I'm going to go back to my note to make sure, Mrs. Spencer, because we want to make sure we work all the characters into the story that were in the original story. So you want to finish the story with the characters that you started with. So mom knocks on the door and says, Rosie, I just got off the phone with Mrs. Spencer. Rosie knows she is going to have to come clean. All right, so her mom and her sit on the bed and talk through their plan. Rosie's mom was disappointed, but after She takes one look at the little kitten. She can't help but cave. Right? She caves. Okay, so, and then I'm going to end my story. So Rosie and her mom agree that Rosie will use her own money to purchase the kitten's litter box, litter, right? And first 3 rounds of food. I'm gonna fix this bad boy. All right, there's 3 rounds of food. Thank you so much, Mom. Let's see, quotation mark, comma, Rosie says, hey, okay, I'm gonna say she spends the rest of the night snuggling her brand new kitten. All right, so honest to goodness, I just came up with all of this on the fly, but it was pretty easy, guys, because all you have to do is stick to the source, use some dialogue, make sure you are doing some logical sequence, use the characters from the beginning, and make sure you're tying up any loose ends on solving the problem. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this lesson today. I know it was a long one, but it is important. If there's any parts that you need to go back and listen to again, feel free to listen to it as many times as you need to. Thank you and have an awesome day of writing.